Today, the unicorn is everywhere. It's a sparkly, pastel horse draped in rainbows, slapped on everything from backpacks to birthday cakes, representing pure magic and innocence. But there is a strange contradiction at the heart of this cultural obsession. We all know this magical creature is fictional, yet humanity has spent over 4,700 years actively hunting, documenting, and trading pieces of it. The unicorn didn't start as a fairy tale. Its origins are tied to real prehistoric megafauna and, eventually, deadly medieval politics. What we're looking at is history's greatest survival story, an idea that constantly mutated to fit the desires and fears of whoever was telling the story. To find the biological seed of this myth, we have to go back 30,000 years to the Elasmotherium. This was a massive, hairy prehistoric rhinoceros that roamed the earth and weighed about twice as much as a modern giraffe. Early humans shared their living space with this giant single-horned creature. The very first unicorn sightings were grounded in heavy biological reality. Our ancestors recorded these encounters using the only technology they had available, painting on cave walls. Because they were drawing two horned animals from a side profile, that two-dimensional limitation merged two horns into one, laying the visual foundation for a myth that would outlive the artists by millennia. This map of ancient Eurasia shows how civilizations developed in isolation. Descriptions of animals traveled these trade routes, but the animals didn't. Greeks heard accounts of Indian rhinos, but by the time the description reached them, they recorded these beasts as single-horned donkeys. Meanwhile, when Chinese emperors were presented with real giraffes from early expeditions, they classified them as the qilin, a magical single-horned hybrid of a deer and an ox. Over in the Indus Valley, ancient cultures reinforced this single-horn imagery through their own societal artifacts, carving creatures into stone to match the local lore. Persians took the hearsay further, adding massive wings to the creature, based on exaggerated travelers' tales. These ancient societies weren't trying to invent a fairy tale. They were building a composite beast to fill the gaps in their limited biological knowledge. In the European Middle Ages, the legend morphed into a ferocious beast, so dangerous it could only be tamed by a maiden. This specific belief triggered a massive economic boom. People were convinced that a unicorn's horn possessed medical powers, capable of detecting poison and whitening teeth. That demand fueled a lucrative historical scam. Merchants began harvesting tusks from oceanic narwhals, small Arctic whales with a single long tooth, and selling them inland as authentic unicorn horns. This black market reached the highest levels of global power. Monarchs like Queen Elizabeth I purchased these fake artifacts for fortunes that could have funded entire armies. Society was so eager to maintain the illusion that in 1663, a so-called unicorn skeleton was discovered in Germany. It was actually patched together from the random bones of several different animals. The biological misunderstanding of the ancient world had transitioned into a self-sustaining financial industry. The unicorn was simply too profitable to debunk. Even as the scientific revolution successfully mapped the globe, proving the mythical horse fake, explorers continued scouring the wild for physical proof. This obsession bled into the 20th century. A British explorer leading an expedition in Africa stumbled across an animal with a bumped head, immediately dubbing it the African unicorn. That animal was actually the okapi. It's a relative of the giraffe, with tiny horn-like bumps on its head, a real scientifically classifiable mammal. The discovery of the okapi shows how the expectation of a myth can color scientific observation. When explorers found an animal that didn't fit known categories, they defaulted to the legendary unicorn to explain what they were seeing. Once modern science disproved the animal's existence, the unicorn survived by pivoting into a purely political and cultural symbol. When King James I needed to unite the warring factions of England and Scotland, he chose to combine their national heraldry. The English lion and Scottish unicorn were considered deadly enemies. Chaining the white unicorn opposite the golden lion symbolized a forced peace. The unicorn's value had shifted away from physical medicine. It was now a conceptual pillar holding up the political permanence of the British Empire. The final aesthetic shift happened later. Victorian writers softened the medieval beast, injecting rainbows and innocence into it. Then, in 2013, the term moved from the pages of children's literature into the boardrooms of Silicon Valley. This chart illustrates the modern corporate unicorn, a startup company whose valuation shoots upward to over $1 billion. The term was chosen because reaching that valuation was thought to be a statistical impossibility. In the real world, look at SpaceX. It's one of the most famous unicorns on the planet, anchoring an abstract financial concept to modern engineering. For thousands of years, we have used this creature to categorize the rare and the impossible. Whether found in a prehistoric cave or a corporate ledger, the unicorn remains our enduring way to describe the things we can't quite believe are real.